Hello again. Tonight I rolled credits on Atelier Yumia, and I love the game very much. Spent a lot of time on it, and I wanted to just kind of give my review of the game. I just kind of wanted to talk about my whole experiences with it, the characters, the story. So probably kind of a spoilery uh, type of a review. I just kind of want to talk about it without having to worry about what I'm saying. So if you haven't played the game, obviously I think this is a 10 out of 10 game. I would highly recommend it. But if you're watching this, I would assume maybe you've played the game and enjoyed it as well. And so I'd like to share my thoughts with you. So, like I mentioned, this is it's a 10 out of 10 game for me. So far, I'd say this. I've played so far this year. I've played, I would say, like really only 3 games. Kind of crazy. Monster Hunter Wilds, Xenoblade X, and Yumia. And this is kind of, I would say it's like a tie with X for my top game of the year. And X is an old game, so I would say Yumia is like as far as like new releases go, this is like my top game of the year. I have a hard time seeing what's going to beat this game. It was just absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I loved it so much. So I played the 3 Ryza games in the series before this, and I wasn't quite sure how and I enjoyed those games very much. So I was not sure how Yumiya would hold up. Would it surpass Ryza? It's off to a very good start. It, you know, if they make this into a trilogy, I think it could surpass Ryza. So let me talk about. I wrote down a couple categories here because I really wanted to try to talk about all aspects of this game. The story is the story is good. I like how the story is introduced. Like the beginning part of the story, you know, with Ryza, she's kind of like this country bumpkin, and Yumiya starts a little bit more darker, where in this world, alchemy is taboo, is how they say it, and like the people that she's with are very leery of her powers and what she represents and all of that kind of stuff. It kind of gave a little bit of a mystery to the beginning of it, and that mystery played out over the rest of the game with how there's only a handful of kind of like bad guys. One thing you could say about this Atelier series is that they reskin a lot of the slimes and weird little birds and all that kind of weird stuff. They had only about 3 or 4 kind of like boss characters in this game, which were very cool. I like that they kind of like came back a couple of times. You fought them multiple times. Felt like they were important. And ultimately, the story led, it was Yumiya's quest to learn about her mother. And I finished this game on Mother's Day. It was kind of interesting. And she was learning about alchemy, discovering, and they traveled to this continent to like discover like what had happened on this lost continent that had been like destroyed and is like, so it was interesting. And the end of it, it also kind of touched on how like the Borelius was trying to like capture all of the humanity. I'm so bad with the names, I apologize. Artelis, I think, was the continent. He was trying to capture everybody's like essence into like a crystal, and I thought that was somewhat interesting and relevant to modern times with the internet and AI. About everybody's consciousness is almost in a digital form with social media and stuff, and also like if you know our human bodies will fail and die at some point. So will humanity try to somehow like digitize or upload all of our consciousness to the cloud somehow? I don't know. It touched on some interesting, sci-fi elements, I thought, that made me think, and was like, oh, okay, I kind of see what they're going for here. The story was cool. I liked it. The strength in these games, I feel, is really with the characters more than the story. That's how it was in Rise, and that's how it was in Yumiya as well. The Atelier series has a unique way of creating characters. Here, let me. I dropped my sheet that I wanted because I wrote the characters' names down because I want to get these right. So, aside from the story, one of the strongest points about the whole game by far is the characters. It has to be. This this game has a core group of 6 characters, and I don't know how they do it, but you just absolutely love all of these characters. I played the game for I think 82, 83 hours, and over the course of that journey, you just fall in love with these characters. They are such an they are such a complementary cast of characters. Let me go through them. All right, so Yumiya, the main character, is adorable. She is so cool. She's tough. Great character design. She has like the hair over, like covering the one eye, which I thought was like cool. Um, she's very pretty. She has like the one hair that's always sticking up, and it's so funny how when she's surprised, it'll go like real straight up, and when she's sad, it'll like droop down. The small details make her, and I guess now, since we're talking about characters, the voice actor for Yumiya was just brilliant. She just nailed it. Um, she would have these cute little, like, huh? Like when she would be surprised, she would have these, like, very short. And Yumiya was always, especially like early on in the game, she was always frowning. She always had this, like frown on her face that was, she kind of had a barrier up, and she was suspicious about people. And so she'd be like frowning at them. Her character design was just, I loved her character design. Her voice actor was fantastic. And, her character, her connection to her mother and her journey, I thought was great. So I loved the main character of this game. I hope they continue to make more games with her because I thought she was fantastic. Let me move on to Isla and Victor. I enjoyed these 2 characters. Probably out of the 6, these were 2. I mean, they're the 2 that join you at the beginning. I kind of like their interaction at the beginning because they were a brother sister combo, which I haven't seen in these games before. That was interesting. Victor is, um, he's a strong character. Doesn't say too much, other than what he needs to say. A very righteous character. I liked Victor. And Isla was the redhead, very friendly character. She ultimately became very good friends with Yumiya. Um, they were good characters. I liked those 2, and I think the brother sister thing was interesting. And then the other 3, Rutger was a very interesting character. I liked his character design. He kind of had the jagged teeth, the low cut glasses. He was kind of he had some good lines. And his whole story with like his memories he sold as a youth to like rich people to be able to afford to help his family and stuff like that. Interesting character. Just makes you think. Very, cool design, great voice acting again. Rutger was very cool. Nina. Nina, was kind of the, oh, what do I, how do you say? She was a little bit of an older character. She was the assassin. very, very shapely, figure, as a lot of these games have. She was kind of a very confident character, but then you found out that one of the big twist was that she's not human. She was created through alchemy, and you kind of delved into her story with her. I guess her creator was an alchemist who created her. So that was an interesting little twist in the story. You started, she kind of came on as like a brash character, but then all of a sudden you started feeling sympathetic for her storyline. So I like that aspect. And finally, Lenja. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I thought Lenja, she was so adorable. You just wanted to, I don't know, this character, Lenja was just so adorable. You know, every time she leveled up, she would get a head pat. I mean, she was like the furry kind of like childlike character. Her voice actor was she was great. The first couple of lines she said, I was like, oh my gosh, who is this? Her voice character was like, and it matched her. This is a very vulnerable character. She has no self confidence. She's like scared to talk almost at first, but then she grows over the story, and by the end of it, she was feeling more confident. She grows as a character. But I loved Lenja. Her design was just so adorable, like ice cream that's too sweet. She was just so cute with her face shape and her voice actor, and her, her tail and ears and stuff. She was just absolutely adorable. And her weapon was like this insanely violent saw. It, the humor, the contrast between her being such a cute little child and having like the most scary weapon, I loved it. Um, just such a weird cast. They just all fit together so well. Um, the, like I said, if I was rating the strengths of the game, I think the characters are like the top strength of the game. They were just so pleasant to spend 80 hours with. It's a strong point. Like I said, it was a strong point in the previous trilogy, and it's such a strong point here. Gust has a fantastic way of just, in a JRPG, you're with a small group of people. You're leveling up. You're going on an adventure with them. You want to feel that kinsmanship, that connection to your party. And if you enjoy that, this game just does it brilliantly. I loved it. Let me move on to a couple other things. The music in this game I thought was good, maybe not great, but good. I felt like there were a couple of familiar themes in it. There wasn't. It was good. There was maybe like Rise had a couple like very standout tracks. This game, I don't feel like there might have been like standout tracks, but there was, the music was just very enjoyable. There's like one or two that like kind of are in my head. Um, after I beat the game. But I just finished Xenoblade X, which I thought the soundtrack for that game was outstanding. This game was good. I don't know if there's a different composer between now and like that first Ryza game, um, but that first Ryza game's battle theme hit so hard. But this soundtrack was it was good. Um, so I did enjoy the music aspect of it. Um, Let me talk a little bit about some of the gameplay elements. So I would say there are three main types of gameplay. There's a very like exploration element because it's a very open world game. There's all these different like check marks to see and accomplish. There's the battle, which is core to any JRPG, and there was the crafting element. I really liked all three. The exploration was really fun to try to complete the map. It had all the question marks. The maps were epic. The landscape was vertical, varying. You wanted to complete it all. I 100%ed the first two areas, and I did most of the third and fourth area. They also had the pioneering element where you were trying to get all these different pioneering accomplishments and you would get rewards for those. I 100%ed the first three pioneers, and once I started getting towards the end of the game, I just kind of wanted to see how it finished, and I don't know if I need to like, for the trophies or whatever the rewards are, but I spent a lot. I mean, I spent 82 hours in the game. If you were a rush in the game, you could beat it probably in half that, 40 hours. I don't know, but I was just enjoying my time so much that I loved exploring and trying to get all of those little collectible areas and stuff like that. So the exploration is very fun in the game. The combat I will combine talking with the crafting element. The crafting in this game was different than Ryza. Ryza kind of changed a little bit each version, and I felt like this was definitely very different from Ryza, but I really liked it. The crafting in these games is so complicated. It takes me a couple of hours to try to really figure it out. And with this game, the first 5 to 10 hours, I was kind of just like fumbling my way through crafting, and I would try my best. I would create stuff that was enough to continue the story, but by the end, I felt like this crafting was not too complicated, but at the same time, it was complicated enough where it was fun. You know, like if you auto craft something, it will be good enough to continue the game. But if you customize craft it, I was like, by the end of the game, anytime I wanted to craft something, quality was 999, S rank, all three traits unlocked, and like all the levels of it were like 10. And there was even another element where you could like put it in a furnace and you could add extra elements. I wasn't even messing with that because my stuff was so strong from my crafting that I was just wiping the floor with everything. So the crafting was, and all the sound effects, like you would create these items with huge resonance, and then when you would apply it to the spot, you would gather all these little crystals in. It sounds fun. The crafting is fun, and I talked earlier in another video, but I love how the crafting is so determinate about how strong you are. It's not what level, you level up. I was level 100 when the game ended. But your level is not what's important. Your crafted items are what's important. And that's so cool. And you can't buy them at a armor shop or a weapon shop. You have to craft them. And so the game forces you into understanding and playing with their crafting element. And the thing is, it's so fun. The crafting element is so fun. So it works. It's a great synergy between the powerful power, and your character has a weapon, it has defense gear, it has accessories. So if you want to, you can make your character so overpowered that it's ridiculous. Or you can kind of just like slowly level certain parts as you go through the game. It's up to you. And I think that's really fun. Right before I kind of went into the last category of the game, I spent some time crafting earlier today. I crafted her top level weapon and I made it so powerful. And I also got a special, I can't remember what the gear name was, but I got a new armor set for her, Yumia, and she was so powerful. I was just wiping the floor with these enemies. It was so cool. But I love in the game. I love how the the crafting element mixes with the battle system. Okay, so let me give you a criticism of the game. The battle system does not take full advantage of itself. Like, for example, there's a system where if you use the items enough times, you raise a percentage bar, and then you can hit the middle pad and it unlocks like special elevated abilities. And I literally used it for the first time on the end boss because I was so strong. I was killing everything without even being able to unlock that ability. Like when I was fighting the end boss, I finally I used it for the first time, and I got like a trophy for like first time using this ability. So that's on the developers because you know, while the crafting system is so amazing and you can become overpowered, and maybe that's on me because that's my style of gameplay, but I wish they had a better, a little bit of a, I wish the all of the different skills and functionality of the battle system was more relevant, because some of it I felt like I would become so overpowered I was just mashing buttons and I ignored it. Even some of the enemy attacks were these very Final Fantasy 14 like little um, ground swells that would say there's an attack coming here. But a lot of times I would be so strong I was like, I bring that attack. I'm not gonna block it. I'm not gonna do nothing. I'll eat the attack because it won't do any damage because my gear was so good. So it's weird. How do you make the gear being overpowered so cool, but then also make the battle so irrelevant? I don't know how they. I feel like there's a way that they can continue to improve on it. I like I said, I had a fantastic time with the game, so I don't want to criticize it too much. But I feel like in the battle system there could be some kind of an improvement there. So that's one critique of the game. I dropped my paper again. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. I talked about the exploration, and really the voice acting I also talked about was fantastic. So I feel like I've covered most of my experience with it. Uh, just thinking about it in retrospect, again, I feel like this is I would rate this 10 out of 10. It was just a fantastic, like one of my favorite games. I spent 82 to 83 hours playing through it, so it's a very lengthy. You can get a lot of gameplay out of your for your money for this game. And again, the strongest elements of the game are just those daggone cute characters. I just love them all. Um, when you're playing video games, you're entering a fantasy world, and you want to go to some new world with new rules with that looks like something you've never seen before, and you want to do it with people that are like your friends. And that's what I felt like when I was a kid, and this game just delivers on all of that so much. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in a new world. Like, what does alchemy mean to this world? How do you do alchemy? Who are these people that are joining me? Just so many cool, it all just worked. You know what I mean? It was like a long, fun adventure, and I was just so glad I went on the journey. Earnhardt and Flammy, I guess, are two other characters that I didn't talk about. They were both very good characters as well, kind of like side characters that weren't playable. But um, so yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm done rambling about this game for tonight. But I finally finished it tonight. Um, I'm gonna start Claire Expedition 33. I almost started tonight, but I think I'm gonna wait till tomorrow because it's pretty late. So I'm gonna start that game tomorrow. So I did want to talk about Yumia just because I had such a fantastic time with it. I love it. I love it. And so if you're watching, if you're still watching this, uh, have you played the game? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment. Have you played the previous games? Are you a fan of the Atelier series? Now that I've played I've completed 4 of the games, I am just a complete fan. I feel like, as much as Final Fantasy or Xenoblade, I'm like an Atelier fan now. If they come out, I think there's actually a new Lariana game that's coming out that's for consoles. I might check that out. I know it's kind of started on mobile, which I'm not so much a fan on, but I might check it out. just, they write such great characters. So I don't know. Again, let me know if you're a fan of the series, and thanks for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening, and take care.